Well, it's about that time, and the Spurs NBA training camp has kicked off. Welcome to the Spurs Roundtable, powered by ProjectSpurs. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, and it's good to be back, Aaron, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's been a couple months for me.
It's been a couple of months for pretty much all of us here, so we're sorry about that, Spurs fans. Just been really nothing but to talk about. Unless you want to talk about Becky Hammond again. That's, you know,
it's been a long, short
summer, yes. But it's finally here, and they kicked it off with Media Day, who Aaron has a great way to sum up Media Day. You want to take it away, Aaron?
It was the most Spurs-like event that you can imagine. Just a lot of very basic, limited stuff, very low-key, and not a whole lot of information to get out of there. So a lot of redundant questions that players have been answering since June.
Right. Well, there were a few kind of like eye-opening comments that were made during the few press conferences they brought out. And I think one of the big ones right off the bat was Tim Duncan actually admitted he was kind of leaning towards retirement after winning it all this season. Would that surprise you?
No, but Tim has said so many times that he's going to play until the wheels fall off, that when he feels like he can't do it anymore, that's when he's going to walk out. And the guy takes such great takes such great care of himself that you really don't see it happening anytime soon. Even if they were to get their first repeat, I still think he would kind of waffle on that decision, because as long as he feels like he can play, I think he's going to play. Right,
yeah. And, you know, my mistake right now, guys, this is Aron Preine from ProjectSpurs. So,
hi.
Yeah, he's probably going to hit me afterwards when, you know, I didn't introduce him. But anyway, the thing about it, too, is that had Tim Duncan hung it up, I think that would have maybe caused a domino effect. If he had maybe announced right after the championship, I think I could see Manu saying, you know what, I'm going to sail off in the sunset, too.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I definitely think those guys, you know, it's not just their teammates, but they're close friends. They've had such a long career together. Their private lives are so intertwined. And I do think that they kind of want to hang up the shoes at around the same time. And that's why with Manu's contract coming up this year, and then same thing with Tim's, I do think you're going to see that where most likely it would be at the end of the season. But I think regardless of what Tim does, I think Manu, this is his last season.
Right,
because there's so many physical ailments that are just nagging with him. And he's got so many miles on his body.
Right, yeah. Well, speaking of Manu Ginobili, during the press conference at Media Day, it was brought up about him not playing with Team Argentina at the FIBA World Championship in Spain. And, well, it sure lit a fire under his voice, didn't it? He was pretty upset about the Spurs, and he looks like he's still upset at the Spurs for not allowing him to play with Team Argentina.
Yeah, well, a lot of fans, all they think about when it comes to international ball is Manu Ginobili holding his ankle at the Beijing Olympics, and he hurt his ankle in the playoffs in that spring, and then he continued to play, even though the Spurs urged him not to play, and then he tore the ligament in his ankle. So that's what a lot of Spurs fans think about. And there's been a lot of backlash with international play for NBA teams.
Right, Mark Cuban's one of them.
And then you see that with a lot of players who are just kind of back. And then plus the Paul George injury, that horrific injury. So it really comes down to a clash of culture, because the international players, they want to represent their national club. And when those players are growing up, the big thing in their country is the national club, the different levels in the national club. Well, in the United States, the big thing, the pinnacle is pro leagues, the NBA, whatever sport it is, NFL, MLB. So it's a different mindset and a different perspective.
Right. And I think we got to focus on where it's coming from. We're talking about Manu Ginobili here.
Right.
He bleeds Argentina blue. If there's an Argentina jersey in front of him and the team asks him, can you suit up? I think he'd probably be on his last leg, 80 years old. He'll be, I still got one more tournament in me. And, you know, he is that passionate. You know, and before we started recording the show, me and Gambrit, our where's our fearless director? Oh, well. He was pretty much trying to understand, grab a hold of what does it really matter, you know, playing for some really minuscule tournament versus this. And it just goes back to Manu. He just is all about Team Argentina. Yeah. Dare I say, more than the Spurs?
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, it's his home country. It's who he bleeds for. And of course, the Spurs have made him that opportunity to pay him a lot of money to hit the pinnacle of basketball in the world.
But this is a very polarizing topic among Spurs fans. I mean, it really is. There's some on the side that says, I get why he got upset. I'm on that side. And then there's the side, the people who pays his checks.
In the past, the Spurs have said, we really don't want you, play. Could you please back it off? Get some rest on your legs. You're falling apart. this was really the first time the Spurs said, okay, stop. You know, we got to protect you. We got to protect our investment because he's under contract to them. They're paying him a lot of money. And it's not like the Spurs haven't been generous in the past. Manu, in his NBA career, has played 8 international tournaments for Argentina. So the Spurs are very lenient with him and also their other international stars.
Right. Well, on the opposite end is, hey, you know, this is Team Argentina. This was their last, technically true go at it with the golden era players from Argentina. Your Scolas, your Delfinos, who else played up there? I think Momano sat out, or Nocioni. You know, all those guys that brought Team Argentina to the spotlight in the NBA. They're effectively, you know, at least Manu is concerned, he's effectively retired from international competition.
They have a lot of pride in what they've built over there, and they also had the recent scandal as far as where the funds were going. With the administration down there. So these guys, it's not just national pride. They have invested a lot of their lives into building the brand of Argentinian basketball. So it's a very, very sensitive and hot topic for them. So it's no wonder that Manu is still seething just a little bit.
Right. Well, you can definitely see it in his eyes when the press was talking to him about it. But, you know, we bring it back full circle. The reason why they wanted him to sit out was because this is their first, well, let me rephrase that, another attempt to finally defend a title, which they have not done in franchise history. So what better formula to do that, at least to make an attempt to do that, than bring the entire crew back?
Yeah, it's really weird. You try to think about when the last time anything like that has even happened in the NBA. I couldn't think of one, yeah, it's so bizarre. So really the only new face on the roster opposed to last year is Kyle Anderson. Right,
and you know he's probably going to see a lot of time in Austin, you know, with the amount of minutes that are not going to be there for him, barring an injury, of course. But when they bring back the entire roster, you have your pros, your good chemistry, we know each other's tendencies, we don't really have to really study too much of the playbook.
The corporate knowledge.
The corporate knowledge is there. But on the flip side, though, you're still looking at other teams that really haven't, that are still threats out there. You look what Dallas has done. They revamped their roster. They're very Spurs-like right now in their roster. And then you got OKC, who still has those athletic big, Serge Ibaka. Where do you land on? Good thing bring everybody back, or they should have tweaked it?
No team was hotter or more impressive than the Spurs through a good portion of the season, and then especially in the postseason. It was one of the most impressive postseason performances of all time. So you're starting off where you left off, and that's very good. A lot of your stars who typically play international ball or extra ball, most of them have sat it out, including Kawhi Leonard, who wanted to rest himself. So it's a great thing. And, of course, at this point, when you're talking about a team that is so deep and so talented like San Antonio, making any changes or bringing somebody in is really more of a luxury than a necessity.
Right.
So this is a really good squad, and you couldn't have asked for them to start off any better.
Right. Well, there was a lot of speculation that Aron Baynes probably would not have been on the roster. It was kind of almost like a last-minute, 12th-hour kind of deal.
Yeah.
Was it a 1 year, $2 million, I believe they offered him?
Basically.
And that's the contract.
Yeah.
What do you think? Good move or bad move?
Oh, it's excellent. I mean, he's familiar with the system. He's a big guy. He works well the pick and roll, the pick and pop. He's a very intelligent player. Of course, he's got his national teammate with Patty Mills.
Right.
He's a great fit. And I would say that's preferable than to bring in somebody like the rumored Gustavo Ayon, sorry, you know, who ended up signing.
And that was interesting. The Spurs were really, at least reportedly, really pushing for this guy.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of had me at a little bit of a loss, thinking, well, why go to an unknown commodity?
It had to do with more with the financial end of it, because Baynes was looking to make a little bit more money. Nobody was really bringing it up in the NBA, so he was looking to go back overseas.
Right.
Remember, Baynes is not someone who's like 22, 23. He's closer to 30. A lot of fans don't realize that. So his window to make the money is very small.
And he recently got married as well, so now he has to worry about a potential family in the future. But, you know, I was kind of on the side of not re-signing anybody, leaving that 14th spot open, and hopefully there'll be a free agent in the pool they can add to in case they need to do a little tweak based on how they're performing. Well, in the first half of the
way
season.
They got some of their salaries set up, they can make some trades or they can cut somebody. And
they got some expiring contracts,
and it's not going to hurt them. So they're going to have a lot of flexibility in their cap going into the next season. So if they have to make a move, they're not handicapped to do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, those are our thoughts right there on the Spurs as they head into the training camp and, well, the new season heading up soon. But at least Aaron is concerned. Aren't you glad basketball's back?
Oh yeah. As long as
you couldn't take FIBA basketball after a while?
The longest short summer ever.
Yeah, and supposedly, I guess the running joke is still you can make fun of Boris Diaw's weight. Pop took a shot at him, didn't he?
Yeah, well, the floor is set at 275 according to Popovich.
Yeah,
so.
that's the floor. So get your bets in right now.
Pina coladas.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for Aron Preine, I am Jeff Garcia. Thanks again for watching this episode of the Spurs Roundtable. Yeah, they're really still picking on Diaw, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He'll never live that weight down.
He looks good in that Lake Travis picture.
Yeah. Oh, now you get it up.